Welcome back. You're watching Live from Paris on France 24. It's time now to find out what's making the buzz in the French media. James Creedon's here from Media Watch. Hi there, James.
Good evening, Laura.
Now, everybody, of course, is talking about François Hollande today. He's the man who'll be leading the Socialists in next year's presidential race. But he's got a few nicknames, hasn't he? And one of them is Mr. Ordinary, Monsieur Normal.
That's right. And now what they've been doing is, interestingly enough, in the French press, they've been saying, well, what's everybody been saying abroad about him? We know it's been a massive debate in France, a massive amount of media coverage. But what are the foreigners saying? Do they know who François Hollande is? He was ahead of the opposition for 10 years, but, you know, what do they think of him? Well, Le Monde did a little sum up. The Guardian has said he's witty, well-meaning, normal, and just a little dull. Der Spiegel in Germany says he hides behind a modest exterior, huge ambition and determination. That's kind of obvious. So if he wants to be president, he's obviously a little bit ambitious.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
he did take a back seat though for many years, didn't he?
He did, and you know, I suppose he was passed out by many others in the Socialist Party for a time. But I suppose the consensus abroad is that he's very ordinary, very normal. The New York Times, for example, says, well, what kind of experience does he really have? He's
never been a minister, has he?
Never been a minister, never been in government. He's the head. He's the president of France is one of France's smallest départements, Corrèze. Does that really compare to, say, Nicolas Sarkozy, who's the head of a nuclear-powered nation, sitting on the Security Council, the only other country apart from the US with a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier?
Right.
So Corrèze doesn't really compare.
In his defence, as his supporters and as one of his advisors just told me, nor did Barack Obama.
Well, that's a fair point, I suppose. You could bring that up with the the people over at the New York Times. La Stampa is saying, you know, France has often wanted change because it's bored. In this case, it might want change in order to be bored, because it wants to be bored, because Sarkozy's a little bit too exciting. So they're kind of saying there's a little bit of a paradox there. So there you go. That's a taste of what some of the foreign press is saying, and the French are very interested in that. What is the impression overseas? Just finally, the Telegraph, they say he's like a country businessman.
Country businessman, is that an insult or?
It could be, I don't know, I suppose it is a little bit really, you know,
now,
for him.
The French, meanwhile, have been riveted by this primary contest, haven't they? Nearly 3 million people voted in it.
That's
and
right.
Everyone has been watching those debates. Nicolas Sarkozy, very annoyed.
Yes.
He's been kicked out of the headlines for a long time now, hasn't he?
That's right. And so the French, if we look at I suppose overseas, they're discovering who François Hollande is, Mr. Normal. He's kind of not that well known. In France, they know all about him, and he's actually got a reputation for being quite funny. So I wanted to show you a website. Unfortunately, we have some technical difficulties.
Oh, that's a
but
shame.
he's known for being very funny. Now, Sarkozy has even called him Little Mr. Jokes. And the thing is, I mean, Hollande is actually quite short, but Sarkozy is shorter than him. So right, there you go.
Either, is he?
But Sarkozy has also said he's like a lump of sugar. It seems solid, but dissolves once it hits water.
Right, it's not saying that he's sweet, is he?
No,
that he's
definitely
not.
not.
Solid.
So, but just in terms of the whole humour, Hollande is known to be quite funny, but mainly behind closed doors, which isn't much good because I suppose you have to be kind of publicly funny if it's to be a benefit to your election campaign. But anyway, a lot of websites in France, and I was going to show some of these, have been listing his jokes, his best jokes and his best humoristic
Can you remember any
moments.
of them?
Well, actually, I found them quite unfunny, and I was thinking, will I play them? But I think it would just be lost.
It's hard to make an Irishman
lost
laugh,
in
isn't it?
translation. Well, French humour, it doesn't translate very well, I find.
No, banana skins and all of that. All right, now one man that one socialist you can certainly not call boring is Dominique StraussKahn, former head of the IMF. He's had 2 charges of attempted rape against him dropped, but now yet more allegations
it's unbelievable,
of sexual
isn't
misconduct.
it? I mean, I think he's deeply frustrated by this as well. But anyway, it came out in this paper. If you just have a quick look at it, it's the Journal du Dimanche. It's France's biggest Sunday newspaper, one of the only Sunday newspapers, really. And this rumour started last week. It's about the northern city of Lille and a prostitution ring that allegedly took place around the Carlton Hotel in Lille. Now, the police were allegedly involved in this corruption, and one police chief by the name of Jean-Christophe Lagarde is alleged to have organised orgies, that's how it's being described, in the JDD and in the Daily Mail, which has picked up on this story and other media around the world, in a Paris hotel. But not alone that, it is also alleged that this police chief flew prostitutes to New York to meet Dominique StraussKahn when he was still head of the IMF. Now, Dominique StraussKahn has said he wants to be heard by the police, wants to be questioned by the police as soon as possible about this, so as to dismiss these outrageous rumours. So he's categorically denying the rumours. But in any case, it's all over the international press. I saw it on the websites of Haaretz in Israel, across the American press. It's another big scandal.
It is a big scandal.
DSK.
But yet, as we say, just allegations for now. Now,
Right.
just tell us, who is Bernard Squarcini?
Bernard Scorsini is the head of the French Secret Service, the equivalent of the MI5 in the UK, so the Interior Secret Service. He has been questioned by police today. He was brought into police custody to be questioned. Why? Well, going back to last year, this newspaper, very well known, Le Monde, was being investigated and wiretapped. It has been established by police in the beginning of September by the Secret Service because they were investigating into a political illegal financing scandal which affected the L'Oreal family fortune, etc. A big scandal last year in France where there was a mole, a whistleblower in the Justice Ministry speaking to Le Monde. Now, the Secret Service discovered who this person was, and because of that, the head of the Secret Service is now being questioned by the police in France. This is an extraordinary story. The head of
Who questions him?
But I mean, the whole point of the Secret Service usually is that they're kind of being a little bit economical with, I suppose, the law, right? They don't,
right.
You know, it's about being secretive.
James Bond and all of that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So it's a pretty extraordinary story that he's been questioned on this today.
Okay. All right. Great stuff, James. As always, thank you very much.
Thanks, Laura.
Indeed. We'll have the headlines for you in a minute, but we're going to leave you now with web news.